Good morning, everybody. What an intro that was, eh? Again, since we have this new format, I'm never sure when I'm actually live or when people are watching me. I got something in my eye. Great start. It's probably one of my long hairs. My hair's getting longer, looking like a hippie. But I'm never sure of when we start. That's why I stand here, and sometimes you'll see me looking confused, or I'm dancing, or I'm going swish. Friday of a long weekend. All right, Friday is the best day of the week. Then you throw in a long weekend. Then you throw in the spring long weekend. Forget about it. Best day of the year. Better than my birthday. Better than Christmas. This day rocks. So I hope everybody is got decent weather. I think our forecast here in Calgary has changed 5 times in the last 24 hours, but it's changing for the better. It's changing for the better. Sunny and 14 tomorrow, cloudy but not rain, and 18 for Sunday. So Brandy's doing a dance in the background. Brandy's also wearing a Hawaiian shirt. I wore this one today because it's the easiest one to draw. Look at that. Actually, I haven't duplicated a Hawaiian shirt yet, I don't think. Every year, when spring comes, I always go, ooh, GAKidsTV, I need a new Hawaiian shirt. So I buy another one. I think I've got 9 of them now. A little excessive, some might say, but I ignore those people because I don't need that negativity in my life. So we had a great week, and we've still got more to come. We have the webinar tomorrow, gardening outside. So I know we did a poll. So let's start here. And we asked, who's ready to get into the garden this weekend? That was last weekend. 2/3 of you answered me. 1/3 answered not yet. I answered not yet. Simply because I don't trust the weather. I just don't. And it was tempting. It was a glorious weekend. And I did do some weeding. I'm not gonna lie. I did some prep. We had a fire, so we were out in the garden, but I didn't plant anything. I didn't do anything. And I know some people did, and I hope your plants are okay. Patience is key. A garden is a marathon, not a sprint. You want to take your time and do it right. And I know how tempting it is. Believe me, I know. So I hope nobody lost any plants. I haven't heard any horror stories yet. So I really hope I don't. And good luck. I know a few people were touch and go with their tomatoes. One of my colleagues here, they put frost blankets over their tomatoes, and their tomatoes did great. So it's a small winter blast. We're gonna get them. But let's keep hardening the plants off and getting ready for them to get outside. So couple of other things we did this week, and one I want to touch on first. Now this one. No, where is it? Here it is, actually. It's the first one I was on. I didn't notice that. So if you remember, this week we were talking about soils. And one of the things I discussed was what made the various layers of the soil. And then, we spoke about the topsoil and the humus and the bedrock, the parent material. We talked about all of that. The 6-7 layers of soil and what you can expect and where you want to plant it. How we don't have that rich organic layer, so we add that with compost. Well, we put a question in our stories and we asked you guys, which of these is not a layer of soil? And we said humus, bedrock, chalk, and topsoil. And the vast majority of you guys said humus, probably thinking about the delicious chickpea dip.
I did.
Yeah, which is just fantastic, one of my favorites. But it's also a breakdown of a lot of composting materials on the top of the surface. And then the second most popular answer, the correct answer, was actually chalk, which, funnily enough, is a layer of soil. So Brandy learned something today. The chalk, depending on where you would be, is a mineral layer of soil. So that would be the equivalent of our clay or bedrock or a sand. And the chalk was, if you remember, I think it was the third layer up, second layer up. And it was what they call the parent material. And it's that layer between like the solid ground, like the solid earth bedrock, and the minerals that come up. Well, depending where you are in the planet, you're going to have a different mineral content. So if you're in, like, say, Dover in England with the white cliffs, you're going to have a chalky soil. If you're up in Canmore in the mountains, you're probably going to have a much stronger rocky soil with bedrock in it. So nobody was right, nobody was wrong. That was a trick question.
Everyone gets a pass.
Yeah, everybody gets a point. We graded that one on the curve. And then another one I want to get to real quick. So when we were talking about soil, we talked to you guys about a couple of urban myths, and we wanted to bust them. And one of the myths that we discussed was spruce trees and the acidity that we get from spruce trees, and the fact that it's not enough to change the pH in the soil. And a lot of people, even when I tell them and I cite the evidence and I mention the tree company that's done all the core samples, and I discuss why, and I talk about the calcium content in the clay being a natural pH buffer and say that, it is really hard to get that out of people's minds, because they have heard for the longest time, Calgary soil is acidic, spruce trees acidify your soil. And it's really hard for them to shake that. And I get it. And that's why we go forward with education. That's why when we present something like that, I totally, 100% respect, the myth. I respect why people believed it. Spruce trees love acidity. They do. If you're going to feed your spruce tree, giving it an acidifier is incredible. Your blueberries want acidity. Rhododendrons, azaleas, raspberries, lots of plants. If you remember when we talked about pH, they lean to the more acidic soil. But to believe that a spruce tree acidifies soil, that's an urban myth. And it's one, if it's, been told forever, and you've talked to other gardeners and landscapers and they've told you, of course you're going to believe it. But then we start looking at the science and we start pH testing and we go, oh, holy moly, it's not like that. And then the other one are dogs killing the grass. And again, acidity gets blamed for that. And we go, oh, it's the acidity. Poor pH. What did pH do to anybody, right? Other than maybe if you stuck your hand in battery acid or bleach, then it kind of sucks. But other than that, the pH always gets the blame. And it's not the acidity. If you remember, we mentioned it's the high nitrogen, the high concentrated nitrogen in the uric acid that causes the brown spots on your grass. And I know some people ask, they're like, well, my lawn fertilizer has high nitrogen. And I grabbed this one. This is made right here in Alberta, specifically for Alberta lawns. I love them. Julie, if you're watching, hi, Julie.
Hi.
And this is Lawn 46, and there's our NPK, 46 nitrogen. That is a high, I don't think you're going to find a higher nitrogen count in any fertilizer than that. And that's amazing for lawns. That's a lawn fertilizer. Your lawn is actively going to grow, it's going to green up. And then people go, well, how is that not burning my lawn because of the nitrogen count? The difference is that's formulated correctly, and there's also an application rate. So if you take those granulars and you spread them out properly, and I'm doing this, don't ever do it by hand. You spread them out properly, they break down and feed a whole area. So it's not a concentrated, take a handful of that, drop it on your lawn, you got a brown lawn. And It's to the point where an old trick, and this is going back many years ago, when people had compost piles and they weren't breaking down enough and there wasn't a correct balance and they were low in nitrogen, some people would actually pee into a mason jar and pour it in their compost to add a concentrated uric acid to increase the nitrogen. So it's actually a high nitrogen concentrate. And then what you would do is you would take that, you'd blend your compost would break down, you'd keep blending it. Well, then eventually the nitrogen has gone through everything. So when you use that in your garden, you don't have that high concentrate. So that's where that comes from. But one thing that was awesome to see, the vast majority of you got that right. We did suggest it attracts more dogs to trample the grass. Nobody voted for that because why would you? If you can get more doggos in the yard, that's a win. So, and then we blended the soil. Just yesterday we did this one. And we showed you guys how to do your own mix. And like I said, we sell that soil pre-mixed and it's great. I've used it numerous times. But we're all looking for projects to do now. And plus there's an educational benefit of that, is understanding how all the pieces work together to make a soil blend. And we asked you what wasn't included. And sea soil wasn't included. Now, the reason for that is there's nothing wrong with having a compost in a soil at all. You've heard me talk about sea soil at great length. Most cacti and succulents grow in areas that are very thin with nutrition. We have cactus, and I know this amazes people every year. They grow perennials right here in Alberta. Drive an hour and a half east of here to the Badlands in Drumheller, and you'll see them. They're incredible. And they're growing in rock and sand. There's not a lot of soil. And the problem with sea soil specifically, it is incredible. Trees and veggies and perennials, they all love it. But putting it in a planter, putting it in a small pot, putting a cactus in it, it is so rich in nutrients, and it is so amazing at holding moisture. It is so compact and dense. It is the absolute wrong thing to put a cacti or a succulent in. So that's why we did not use sea soil in that. We just used, if you remember, a very dry garden soil, a topsoil, a black soil. We mixed in worm castings, perlite, and sand. That gives us a loose, friable material with a little bit of nutrition from the soil and the worm castings. Very mild, nothing is going to burn. And a very low nutritional count with how many other things. You mix topsoil and worm castings, you've got a fantastic nutritional blend. They grow anything in that. I've done it before. I don't recommend it for houseplants. Again, it's too heavy, but it's too rich for cactus. You put in the sand and the perlite to help with that moisture and help blend out the nutrition. You got a blend. And again, happy to see most of you got that right. And then when we talked at the very beginning of the week and we talked about soil amending, and I know a lot of people, they tend to think, well, soil is soil. Like it's always there. I always see it. But if you remember, we spoke about soil is always moving. We don't see it. But an earthworm passing through, ants making nests, a skunk or a raccoon burrowing in to get a grub or making a nest. That's all disturbing the soil. Then throw in the natural movement of the earth beneath it, and soil gets pushed up and it gets pulled down. Rain hits and pulls nutrients down. Your plant, you put it in the ground and it pulls nutrients out the soil. So there's an uplift. So there's always movement happening. And as a result, all of our nutrition, all of the good stuff we get put in is constantly moving away from the surface and other stuff. And it's not bad. There's nothing wrong with having clay in your soil. If it's just clay, that's a problem. But having a clay blend soil, a lot of plants like it. It helps establish roots, gives stability and whatnot. But you wouldn't want to plant it in. Chalk, great. It's loose. Roots can get through it easy. It allows plants up, but they're not going to stand up as well in it. So you might have to add a heavier loam or a thicker blend of compost. So the natural soil is great, but we deplete it by planting in it. So we always need to refresh that. And our answer there was all of the above. So that was what we discussed. So coming up tomorrow, like I said, we're going to talk about moving gardening outside, what you're going to need, what you can expect. I'm going to touch on a couple of things too that have nothing to do with Golden Acre because I want you guys to be safe. I did a lot of damage to my eyes when I was younger, landscaping and wearing cheap sunglasses. I didn't want my good sunglasses to get broken, so I would buy like the $5, $10 gas station ones that had no UV protection. And I damaged my eyes. I never wore SPF, and I actually had to have skin cancer removed. So there are a ton of things. I want you guys to be safe. I have done some damage, and I don't want to see you guys do it. Gloves, okay? There's all kinds of things. So we're going to cover a ton of things tomorrow. How to get your plants healthy, what to expect, how to maintain, how to keep them healthy, what we're looking for through the season, a bit of, garden PPE. I think we all know what PPE is now, for better or for worse, but some garden PPE to protect yourselves. Wear a hat when you're outside, all that good stuff. I really look forward to it tomorrow. Webinars are a lot of fun. Sign up if you haven't already. Take care. Have a safe and wonderful weekend, everybody. Try and enjoy. Try and get some gardening in. Spend time with the families and look after each other, okay? And as always, huge shout out to our teachers, nurses, doctors, everybody else. Mad love and respect. They're changing the game again, and students are going back, and everybody is recalibrating. Hang in there. Nothing but love for you guys, okay? And we'll see you guys soon. Bye, everyone.